Give me your private parts now, human. The stunningly beautiful alien's holographic form flickers as her words echo through the ancient structure. Chief Science Officer Philip Tucker freezes, his hand hovering over his communicator. The alien's exotic features captivate him, but her shocking demand sends a chill down his spine. Philip's mind races. This first contact situation aboard the uncharted planet in the Tau Ceti system has taken an unexpected turn. The HSS Horizon orbits silently above, unaware of the potential interstellar incident unfolding on the surface. As leader of the small exploration team, Philip knows his next move could alter the course of human history. The ground trembles beneath their feet. Dr. Ava Chen, the team's linguist, grips Philip's arm. "It's a mistranslation," she whispers urgently. "The alien is requesting genetic samples, not what it sounds like." Before Philip can respond, the structure's walls begin to shift. Ancient mechanisms grind to life, revealing a vast underground complex. The team scatters as the floor gives way. Philip tumbles through darkness, landing hard on a cold metallic surface. Disoriented, he activates his suit's lights. The beam illuminates a massive chamber filled with rows of stasis pods. Most are empty, their occupants long gone, but one pod at the center pulses with energy. As Philip approaches, the pod's surface becomes transparent, revealing a living, breathing version of the holographic alien. Her eyes snap open, locking onto Philip's. The pod hisses open, and she emerges, her movements fluid despite millennia of suspended animation. "I am Vera," she says, her voice melodious and otherworldly. "Last of the Nasat." Vera reaches for Philip, her fingers brushing his suit. An electric sensation courses through him, a mixture of attraction and alarm. "Your species," she continues, "may be our salvation." Alarms blare as the complex shudders. Debris rains from the ceiling. Philip's team calls frantically over the comm, but he can't tear his gaze from Vera. In her eyes, he sees the weight of an entire civilization, the last hope of a dying race. "We need your genetic material," Vera explains, her tone urgent, "to preserve our knowledge, our essence. Without it, everything my people were will be lost forever." Philip's mind whirls. His mission was to observe, not interfere. Sharing human DNA could have far-reaching consequences for Earth's security, but the fate of an entire alien civilization hangs in the balance. The complex groans, structures failing around them. Philip knows he has only moments to decide. Earth's interests or an alien race's survival, scientific caution or a leap into the unknown. Vera's presence fills his senses, triggering a storm of conflicting emotions. Attraction wars with suspicion, duty clashes with the potential for unprecedented cooperation. As the chamber begins to collapse, Philip makes a choice that will reshape the future of both species. He reaches for Vera's outstretched hand, their fingers intertwining as the world crumbles around them. In that touch, a bridge between two civilizations is formed, fraught with promise and peril. Whatever comes next, humanity's place in the galaxy will never be the same. Philip's hand closed around Vera's, their fingers interlocking as the chamber shuddered violently. The touch sent a jolt through him, electric and alien, yet somehow familiar. There was no time to dwell on the implications of his choice. The complex was coming apart around them. "We need to move," Philip shouted over the cacophony of grinding stone and twisting metal. Vera nodded, her luminous eyes wide with urgency. They sprinted through the collapsing corridors, ducking under falling debris and leaping over widening fissures in the floor. Vera's grip on Philip's hand tightened as they navigated the treacherous path. Her skin was cool and smooth against his, a constant reminder of the momentous decision he'd just made. A massive support beam crashed down mere centimeters behind them, showering them with dust and fragments. Philip stumbled, nearly losing his footing, but Vera's strength kept him upright. They pressed on, lungs burning, hearts pounding in sync. As they rounded a corner, a shaft of natural light pierced the gloom. The exit was just ahead, but a chasm had opened between them and safety. Philip's mind raced, calculating the distance, the risk. "We'll have to jump," he said, meeting Vera's gaze. She nodded, a flicker of trust passing between them. They backed up a few paces, then sprinted forward in unison. At the edge, they launched themselves into the air. For a heart-stopping moment, they were suspended over the abyss. Then they hit the ground on the other side, rolling to absorb the impact. Scrambling to their feet, they burst out of the complex and into the alien sunlight. Philip's team had already evacuated to a safe distance, their faces masks of relief and confusion as they spotted their leader emerging with the mysterious alien. Dr. Chen was the first to approach, her eyes darting between Philip and Vera. "Chief, what happened down there? Who is this?" Philip opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, the whine of engines cut through the air. A shuttle touched down nearby, kicking up swirls of dust. The hatch opened, revealing Captain Marcus Steele, his expression stormy. "Tucker!" Steele barked, striding towards them. "Explain yourself. Now!" Philip straightened, acutely aware of Vera's presence beside him. "Captain, this is Vera. She's the last surviving member of the Nasat species. The situation down there was critical. I made a decision to share human genetic material with an unknown alien entity." Steele cut him off, his voice sharp. "Do you have any idea of the potential consequences of your actions?" Vera stepped forward, her melodious voice carrying a note of confusion. "I do not understand. Is this not the next step in our union?" Steele's eyebrows shot up, and Philip felt a flush creeping up his neck. "Captain, there's been a misunderstanding. Vera's species has a different concept of—" "Enough," Steele interrupted. "We'll sort this out on the horizon. For now, the alien is to be confined for questioning." He gestured to two security officers who approached cautiously. As they moved to flank Vera, she reached out, her fingers brushing against one guard's chest. "Is this part of your mating ritual?" she asked, her tone curious and inviting. The guard jerked back, his face reddening. Philip quickly stepped between them, gently taking Vera's arm. "Vera, there are some things I need to explain about human customs," he said softly. Steele pinched the bridge of his nose, exasperation clear on his face. "Tucker, you're responsible for her. Make sure she understands our protocols." As they boarded the shuttle, Philip felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He'd opened a door between two civilizations, one that couldn't be easily closed. The consequences were yet to unfold, but one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same. The shuttle's engines roared to life, lifting them towards the HSS horizon. Philip glanced at Vera, watching as she gazed out the viewport at her homeworld. Perhaps for the last time, the complex that had been her resting place for millennia was now little more than a pile of rubble on the horizon. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the shuttle. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system at high speed. Energy signatures match known Zorn vessels." Steele's face hardened. "How long until they reach us?" "At their current velocity, less than an hour, sir." The atmosphere in the shuttle shifted instantly from tense to electric. Philip knew of the Zorn by reputation, a species known for their aggressive expansion and technological piracy. If they were here, it could only mean one thing. They'd detected the energy signature from the Nasat complex. Vera's eyes widened in recognition at the name. "The Zorn must not be allowed to acquire our technology," she said, her voice low and intense. "The consequences would be catastrophic." Steele's gaze snapped to her. "What technology?" "Data cores," Vera replied. "They contain the sum of our knowledge, including advancements that could devastate entire systems if weaponized." The shuttle docked with the horizon, and as they disembarked, Steele was already barking orders. "Prepare for emergency departure. All non-essential personnel to their quarters." Vera caught Philip's arm, her touch sending another jolt through him. "We must return to the surface," she insisted. "The cores must be retrieved or destroyed before the Zorn arrive." Philip looked at Steele, knowing what he was about to say went against every protocol. "Captain, I volunteer to accompany Vera back to the complex." Steele's heart made, the conflict clear on his face. After a long moment, he nodded curtly. "You have 30 minutes, Tucker. Not a second more." As Philip and Vera raced back to the shuttle bay, alarms continued to blare throughout the ship. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking. Philip's heart raced, not just from the urgency of their mission, but from the proximity of Vera, her alien presence both thrilling and terrifying. They had one chance to secure the NASAT technology before the Zorn arrived. As the shuttle doors closed behind them, Philip knew that whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. The shuttle rocketed towards the horizon, its occupants bracing against the sudden acceleration. Philip's mind raced, calculating the implications of the Zorn's arrival. As they approached the ship, the enormity of their situation became clear. The horizon hung in space, its sleek form dwarfed by the looming planet below. No sooner had they docked than the ship shuddered violently. Captain Steele's voice crackled over the intercom. All hands, brace for evasive maneuvers. Philip grabbed Vera's arm, steadying her as the artificial gravity fluctuated. They rushed from the shuttle bay, the corridors a blur of flashing red emergency lights and scrambling crew members. A deafening boom reverberated through the ship's hull. Vera's eyes widened, her alien features etched with concern. The Zorn weapons, they're more advanced than I anticipated. Another impact sent them stumbling. Philip's comm unit chirped urgently. Tucker, get to engineering now! Steele's voice was strained, barely audible over the chaos. They sprinted through the ship, dodging debris and panicked crew members. As they neared engineering, the lights flickered and died, plunging the corridor into darkness. Vera's skin began to glow softly, casting an ethereal blue light around them. Philip stared, momentarily transfixed by the otherworldly sight. Vera's bioluminescence pulsed gently, her alien beauty accentuated in the eerie glow. She met his gaze, a flicker of something unreadable passing between them. The spell was broken by another violent shudder of the ship. They burst into engineering, greeted by a scene of controlled chaos. Crew members rushed between smoking consoles, desperately trying to keep the ship's systems online. Chief Engineer Ramos spotted them and waved them over. "The propulsion system's shot," she shouted over the din. "We need to reroute power from non-essential systems, or we're sitting ducks." Philip nodded, immediately moving to a nearby console. His fingers flew over the controls, bypassing safety protocols to funnel every spare watt into the engines. Beside him, Vera studied the alien interface intently. "Your technology, it's both familiar and strange," she mused. Without warning, she reached out and placed her hand on the console. A soft glow emanated from her palm, and suddenly the readout stabilized. Ramos gaped at the display. "How did you—" "NASAT biotechnology," Vera explained. "We can interface directly with compatible systems." Philip's mind raced with the implications. "Vera, if you can interface with our systems, maybe we can—" "Integrate NASAT technology with your own," she finished, nodding. "It's risky, but it might give us an edge." Captain Steele's voice cut through their discussion. "Tucker, status report." Philip keyed his comm. "Captain, we've restored partial engine functionality, but we might have a way to even the odds." He quickly outlined their plan. There was a long pause before Steele responded, his voice heavy with the weight of command. "Do it. But Tucker, you're responsible for any consequences." As Philip and Vera worked to merge their technologies, the tension in engineering was palpable. Crew members cast wary glances at the alien in their midst, their unease evident. Vera seemed oblivious to their scrutiny, her focus entirely on the task at hand. As she manipulated the ship's systems, her bioluminescence flared brightly, bathing the dimly lit room in a mesmerizing glow. Philip found himself constantly aware of her presence, his skin tingling whenever they brushed against each other in the cramped space. He tried to push aside the distracting thoughts, but each accidental touch sent a jolt through him. Suddenly Vera stumbled, her hand landing on Philip's chest to steady herself. She looked up at him, her alien eyes wide and curious. "Your heart rate has increased significantly," she observed. "Is this a sign of human arousal?" Philip felt heat rush to his face. "Vera, this isn't really the time or place for—" Before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Steele's voice rang out, tense and urgent. "All hands, prepare to repel boarders. Zorn boarding parties have breached the hull." The engineering bay erupted into frantic activity. Crew members scrambled for makeshift weapons, barricading entrances. Philip grabbed a nearby plasma torch, his mind racing to formulate a plan. He turned to Vera, whose bioluminescence had dimmed to a soft glow. "We need to get you somewhere safe," he said urgently. "If the Zorn capture you—" She nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "The data cores," she said. "We must protect them at all costs." As they made their way through the ship's corridors, the sounds of combat echoed around them. Philip's grip tightened on Vera's hand, acutely aware of her vulnerability in this chaos. They rounded a corner and came face to face with a group of Zorn soldiers. The aliens were tall, their exoskeletal armor gleaming wickedly in the emergency lighting. Philip raised his makeshift weapon, placing himself between Vera and the intruders. "Run!" he shouted, engaging the Zorn in a desperate bid to buy her time. Vera hesitated for a split second before sprinting down the corridor, her bioluminescence flaring brightly in her distress. Philip fought with everything he had, but he was outmatched. A Zorn energy weapon grazed his side, sending him sprawling. As his vision blurred, he saw Vera return, her body glowing intensely. The corridor was filled with a blinding light, and the Zorn soldiers reeled back, disoriented. Taking advantage of their confusion, Vera helped Philip to his feet. They stumbled away from the stunned Zorn, ducking into a maintenance shaft. In the cramped space, Philip was acutely aware of Vera's alien form pressed against him. "You came back," he gasped, fighting through the pain of his injury. Vera's luminescence pulsed softly. "I couldn't leave you," she said simply. Her hand brushed his wounded side, and a cooling sensation spread through his body. The pain receded, replaced by a tingling warmth. Their eyes met in the dim glow of Vera's bioluminescence. For a moment, the chaos of the battle faded away. Philip felt drawn to her, the boundaries between their species seeming to blur. The moment was shattered by the sound of approaching Zorn soldiers. Reality crashed back in, reminding them of the dire situation. They needed to reach the data core and protect the Nasat technology before it was too late. As they prepared to leave their hiding place, Philip realized that whatever happened next would change everything. The fate of two species, perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance, and at the center of it all was this impossible connection between a human and an alien, forged in the crucible of crisis. With a shared look of purpose, Philip and Vera emerged from their shelter, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The gravity of their mission caused great concern upon them as they stepped out into the corridor, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. No sooner had they emerged than the ship shuddered violently, nearly knocking them off their feet. The sound of metal tearing echoed through the hallway, followed by the hiss of escaping air. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, sealing off breached sections of the ship. "This way," Philip said, guiding Vera towards the nearest secure area. They ran through the chaos, dodging debris and panicked crew members. The ship's alarms blared incessantly, their urgent wail a constant reminder of the danger they faced. As they rounded a corner, a stray energy blast from a Zorn weapon struck Philip in the side. He stumbled, crying out in pain. Vera caught him before he fell, her alien strength surprising him. "You're injured," she said, her bioluminescence pulsing with concern. Philip gritted his teeth against the searing pain. "We don't have time. We need to—" But Vera was already placing her hand over his wound. A soft blue glow emanated from her palm, spreading across his skin. Philip gasped as a cooling sensation washed over him, dulling the pain and knitting his flesh back together. "How did you—" he began, but was cut off by Captain Steele's voice over the ship-wide comm system. "All able-bodied crew to battle stations. Defend critical systems at all costs." Philip looked at Vera, conflicted. The moment they had shared during his healing had awakened something in him, a connection he couldn't quite define. But duty called, and there was no time to explore these newfound feelings. "I need to get to engineering," he said. "You should head to the medical bay. They'll need your healing abilities there." Vera nodded, her alien features set with perseverance. "Be careful, Philip." They parted ways, each racing towards their assigned positions. Philip's mind raced as he made his way to engineering, formulating strategies to repel the Zorn invaders. The scene in engineering was one of controlled chaos. Crew members rushed to maintain critical systems, while security personnel fortified their positions. Chief Engineer Ramos spotted Philip as he entered. "Tucker, get to the main power coupling. We need to reroute emergency power to the shields." Philip nodded, diving into the work. His fingers flew over the console, integrating the newly merged NASAT technology with the ship's systems. The alien interface pulsed beneath his touch, responding to his commands with an eerie efficiency. Suddenly, the ship rocked with a massive impact. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and the lights flickered ominously. "They've breached the hull in multiple locations," someone shouted. Philip's mind raced. They needed a way to push back the Zorn, to buy themselves time. An idea struck him, dangerous but potentially game-changing. "Ramos," he called out, "if we overload the power conduit in Section C, we could create an energy pulse strong enough to disable their weapons and comms." The chief engineer's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "It's risky, but it might work. Do it." Philip set to work, his hands moving with practiced precision despite the chaos around him. He could hear the sounds of battle drawing closer, the harsh cries of Zorn soldiers mixing with the desperate shouts of the Horizon's crew. As he finalized the overload sequence, a group of Zorn burst into engineering. Their chitinous armor gleamed wickedly in the emergency lighting, energy weapons at the ready. "Now!" Philip yelled, slamming his hand down on the activation panel. A blinding flash erupted from the power conduits, followed by a wave of energy that rippled through the ship. The Zorn invaders staggered, their weapons and communication devices suddenly inert. Taking advantage of their momentary disorientation, Philip and the engineering crew launched a counterattack. They fought with makeshift weapons and sheer willpower, driving the aliens back. As the last Zorn fell, Philip allowed himself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. The ship's intercom crackled to life, Captain Steele's voice tense and urgent. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We've received a transmission from the Zorn fleet." Philip's heart sank. He knew this battle was far from finished, and whatever came next would push them all to their limits. As he made his way to the bridge, his thoughts turned to Vera, hoping she was safe amidst the chaos that had engulfed the Horizon. The corridors were eerily quiet as he approached the bridge, a stark contrast to the earlier mayhem. When the doors slid open, Philip was met with a scene of relentless drive. Captain Steele stood at the center, his face etched with the weight of command. "Tucker," Steele acknowledged as Philip entered, "we're out of options. The Zorn are demanding our surrender and the handover of all NASAT technology. If we refuse, they'll destroy us entirely." Philip's mind raced, considering and discarding possibilities. Then an audacious plan began to form. It was desperate, dangerous, and relied heavily on technology they barely understood, but it might be their only chance. "Captain," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of his proposal, "I think I have an idea, but it's going to require Vera's help, and it's not without risk." As Philip outlined his plan, the faces around him displayed a mix of hope and apprehension. They all knew the stakes couldn't be higher. The fate of the Horizon, its crew, and possibly the future of human-alien relations hung in the balance. Captain Steele listened intently, his expression unreadable. When Philip finished, the bridge fell into a tense silence. Finally, Steele spoke. "It's a hell of a gamble, Tucker, but right now it might be the only play we have left. Make it happen." As Philip turned to leave, to find Vera and set their desperate plan in motion, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened next would change everything. The lines between human and alien, friend and foe, were about to be redrawn. And at the center of it all was Vera, an impossible being who had already begun to reshape his understanding of the universe. With a deep breath, Philip stepped off the bridge and into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their fight for survival. Survival, or adhere to their principles, and refuse to benefit from the conflict. As Philip raced through the corridors of the battered Horizon, his mind reeled from the events of the past few hours. The ship's victory over the Zorn had come at a terrible cost, and now Vera's life hung in the balance. He burst into the medical bay, cradling her glowing form in his arms. "I need a stasis pod now!" he shouted, his voice cracking with urgency. The medical staff scrambled to comply, but Philip knew it wasn't enough. Vera's alien physiology required something beyond standard human medical technology. His gaze fell on a pile of salvaged NASAT equipment in the corner of the bay, and an idea began to form. "Clear that table," he ordered, gently laying Vera down. Her bioluminescence flickered weakly, like a dying star. "And bring me that NASAT tech." As the medical team watched in bewilderment, Philip's hands flew over the alien devices, integrating them with human systems in ways never before attempted. Hours passed in a blur of frantic work. His knowledge of xenobiology pushed to its limits. Finally, a makeshift bioregenerative chamber took shape. Its surface pulsed with an otherworldly light, mirroring Vera's natural glow. Philip carefully transferred her into the chamber, his hand lingering on hers for a moment before he sealed it. "Come on, Vera," he whispered, watching her vital signs on the improvised display. "Fight!" Over the next several days, Philip barely left Vera's side. He watched in fascination as her cracked skin slowly knitted itself back together, the ethereal fluid that had leaked from her wounds, reabsorbing into her body. The chamber hummed with energy, working in harmony with Vera's unique biology. Outside the medical bay, the horizon was a hive of activity. Repair crews worked around the clock to patch hull breaches and restore critical systems. Captain Steele had ordered teams to secure the disabled Zorn vessels, a decision that sparked heated debate among the crew. Philip heard snippets of arguments as he made his way back to the medical bay after a brief rest. Some crew members saw the advanced Zorn technology as a lifeline, a means to enhance the Horizon's capabilities and ensure their survival in uncharted space. Others, led by Security Chief Alexei Volkov, viewed it as a moral quandary. "We can't use the very weapons that nearly destroyed us," Volkov's voice carried down the corridor. "It goes against everything we stand for." The controversy extended to Vera and the NASAT technology as well. Philip overheard Volkov arguing with Captain Steele outside the medical bay. "She's too great a risk, Captain," Volkov insisted. "We should put her in stasis and lock away all the NASAT data until we're back on Earth." Steele's response was measured but firm. "Without Vera and that technology, we wouldn't have survived the Zorn attack. I'm not about to abandon her now." As the days wore on, Philip noticed the curious glances and hushed whispers that followed him. His constant vigil at Vera's side had not gone unnoticed, fueling speculation about the nature of their relationship. He ignored the rumors, focused solely on Vera's recovery. On the third day after the battle, as Philip adjusted the settings on the bioregenerative chamber, he noticed a change in Vera's bioluminescent patterns. They pulsed more strongly, almost in sync with the ship's energy systems. Suddenly, Vera's eyes fluttered open. "Philip," she said, her voice resonating on multiple frequencies that sent shivers down his spine. "Vera!" he exclaimed, relief washing over him as he helped her out of the chamber. "How do you feel?" Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Steele's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Senior staff to the bridge immediately. We have incoming contacts." Philip looked at Vera, who nodded in understanding. Together they made their way to the bridge, Vera's newly enhanced bioluminescence drawing startled looks from the crew they passed. As they entered the bridge, all eyes turned to them. Vera's transformation was striking, her body now pulsing with intricate patterns of light that seemed to interact with the ship's systems. Captain Steele wasted no time on pleasantries. "Long-range sensors have detected a fleet of unknown origin approaching at high speed. Their technology appears to be far beyond anything we've encountered." Vera stepped forward, her voice carrying a new depth of resonance. "Captain, those ships belong to the architects." A hush fell over the bridge as Vera explained the true nature of the approaching fleet. The revelation that both the NASAT and the Zorn were creations of this ancient, godlike race sent shockwaves through the assembled crew. As the implications of Vera's words sank in, the first of the architect ships appeared on the screen. Its design defied comprehension, a structure of impossible geometries that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. Philip felt Vera's hand slip into his, their fingers intertwining. In that moment, standing together on the bridge of the battle-scarred horizon, they faced not just the judgment of the architects, but the challenge of proving that their unlikely bond could be the key to bridging the vast gulfs between species. The fate of humanity, the legacy of the Nasat, and the future of the galaxy itself now rested on their shoulders. As the architect's ship grew larger on the display, Philip squeezed Vera's hand, ready to face whatever came next. The architect's ship loomed before them, a structure of impossible angles and shifting geometries that defied human comprehension. Philip felt Vera's hand tighten in his as the massive vessel dwarfed the battle-scarred horizon. Captain Steele's voice cut through the tense silence on the bridge. "All hands, brace for impact. We don't know what—" His words were cut short as a brilliant beam of energy engulfed the horizon. Philip instinctively pulled Vera closer, expecting the worst. But instead of destruction, he felt a curious, tingling sensation spreading through his body. In the blink of an eye, the bridge of the horizon dissolved around them. Philip found himself, along with Vera and Captain Steele, standing in a vast chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls pulsed with living light, and the floor beneath their feet seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Before them, beings of pure energy coalesced into existence. They had no fixed form, their bodies constantly shifting and flowing in mesmerizing patterns. Philip's mind reeled as he felt an alien presence brush against his consciousness. "They're telepathic," he gasped, looking at Vera and Steele. Vera nodded, her bioluminescence pulsing in response to the architect's presence. "They're probing our minds, learning about us." Captain Steele stepped forward, his face a mask of dedication. "I am Captain James Steele of the HSS Horizon. We come in peace and—" The architect's response came not in words, but in a flood of images and concepts that washed over their minds. Philip saw flashes of countless worlds, of civilizations rising and falling across the vastness of the galaxy. He understood in that moment the true scope of the architect's grand experiment. "They created us," Vera whispered, her voice filled with awe. "All of us, the Nasat, the Zorn, humanity, we're all part of their cosmic experiment." The architect's attention focused on Philip and Vera, their energies swirling around the pair with increased intensity. Philip felt a sense of curiosity and surprise emanating from the godlike beings. Suddenly, the chamber around them shimmered and changed. Philip found himself standing with Vera in a series of rapidly shifting environments. One moment they were on a barren, alien world, the next in the heart of a bustling space station. "They're testing us," Philip realized, as a holographic display materialized before them, presenting a complex problem involving interstellar navigation and quantum mechanics. Without hesitation, Philip and Vera fell into a pattern of seamless cooperation. His human intuition and problem-solving skills meshed perfectly with her Nasat knowledge and unique perspective. Together, they tackled challenges that would have been insurmountable for either species alone. As they progressed through increasingly difficult simulations, Philip felt his connection with Vera deepening. In the midst of a high-stakes survival scenario on a hostile alien world, he found himself marveling at her grace and resourcefulness. The physical and emotional strain of the test brought them closer, their bond strengthening with each shared triumph and narrow escape. During a brief respite between simulations, Philip and Vera found themselves in a tranquil garden-like setting. Exhausted but exhilarated, they sat together beneath a canopy of bioluminescent fronds. "Vera," Philip began, his voice soft, "I've never felt this way about anyone before. What we have, this connection, it's more than just teamwork or friendship." Vera's luminescence pulsed with a warm golden glow. "I feel it too, Philip. It's as if our very beings are intertwined now." Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the barriers between them, human and Nasat, flesh and energy, seemed to melt away. Philip leaned in, his lips meeting Vera's in a kiss that sent shockwaves of sensation through both their bodies. The architect's presence hummed around them, their energies flickering with what Philip could only interpret as surprise and fascination. This unexpected development, this blossoming of romantic attachment between human and Nasat, was clearly not part of their original experimental parameters. Before Philip and Vera could fully process the implications of their newfound intimacy, the environment shifted once more. They found themselves facing their final test, a simulated first contact scenario with a highly aggressive alien species poised on the brink of war. Drawing on their combined strengths and the deep trust they had developed, Philip and Vera navigated the delicate diplomatic waters. Their unique perspectives allowed them to find common ground where others might have seen only conflict. In a tense moment, Vera's ability to project empathetic bioluminescent patterns proved crucial in diffusing a potentially catastrophic misunderstanding. As the simulation concluded successfully, the architect's chamber rematerialized around them. Captain Steele, who had been observing their trials, looked at Philip and Vera with a mixture of pride and amazement. The architect's energies swirled and coalesced, forming a rough approximation of a humanoid figure. Their telepathic voice resonated in the minds of the Horizon's representatives. "You have shown us something unexpected," the architects communicated. "The bond between human and Nasat offers new possibilities for our galactic experiment. We require further observation before rendering final judgment on the fate of your species and others." With a gesture, the architects conjured a shimmering portal. Through it, Philip could see the bridge of the horizon. "Return to your ship," the architects instructed. "A contingent of our kind will accompany you to continue monitoring your progress. You will be provided with the means to revive more Nasat from stasis. Your mission now is to explore the galaxy and demonstrate the potential of your union." As they prepared to step through the portal, Philip felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He knew that the challenges ahead, navigating the complex politics aboard the Horizon, facing the unknown depths of space, and proving the value of human-Nasat cooperation, would test them in ways they couldn't imagine. But with Vera by his side, her hand clasped firmly in his, Philip felt ready to face whatever the vast, mysterious universe had in store for them. As they stepped through the portal back onto the Horizon's bridge, Philip felt the weight of their new responsibility settle upon his shoulders. Captain Steele wasted no time in addressing the crew. "Attention all hands. We have a new mission from the architects themselves. We are to explore the galaxy and demonstrate the potential of human-Nasat cooperation. Prepare for departure." As the crew scrambled to their stations, Philip noticed the architect's contingent materializing on the bridge, ethereal, energy-based beings that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Their presence sent a ripple of unease through the human crew members. In the days that followed, the Horizon ventured into uncharted space, its crew grappling with the implications of their encounter with the architects. Philip and Vera found themselves at the center of attention, their relationship scrutinized by both humans and the architect observers. Captain Steele, recognizing the need for unity in the face of these challenges, called Philip and Vera to his ready room. "I'm assigning you both to lead a joint human-Nasat science team," Steele announced, his expression grave. "Your primary task will be to study the architect technology provided for reviving more Nasat from stasis." Philip nodded, but before he could respond, the door slid open and Security Chief Volkov strode in, his face a mask of hardly restrained anger. "Captain, I must object to this assignment," Volkov said, his voice tight. "We can't trust the Nasat with such sensitive technology. For all we know, they could be manipulating us, using this cooperation as a cover for their true intentions." Steele's eyes narrowed. "Your objection is noted, Chief Volkov, but my decision stands. Philip and Vera have proven themselves time and again. They will lead this project." As they left the ready room, Philip could feel the tension radiating from Volkov. The security chief's hostility was palpable, a stark reminder of the ideological divide that threatened to tear the crew apart. Over the next few weeks, Philip and Vera threw themselves into their research. The architect technology was unlike anything they had ever encountered, its complexity both fascinating and frustrating. "Look at this," Vera said one day, her bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. She gestured to a holographic display of the stasis pod's inner workings. "The energy patterns here, they're not just preserving the body, they're maintaining the neural pathways. It's as if the Nasat in stasis are in a state of suspended animation rather than true unconsciousness." Philip leaned in, his eyes widening as he grasped the implications. "That means we might be able to revive them with their memories intact. Vera, this is incredible." Their breakthrough came after days of nonstop work. As Philip made the final adjustments to their modified stasis pod, Vera placed her hand on the control panel, her bioluminescence synchronizing with the pod's energy field. With a hiss of escaping gas, the pod opened, revealing a Nasat female. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to wonder as she took in her surroundings. "Welcome back," Vera said softly in the musical language of the Nasat. "I'm Vera, and this is Philip. You're safe." The awakened Nasat introduced herself as Zara, a bioengineering specialist. Over the next few days, 2 more Nasat were successfully revived: Kel, an expert in propulsion systems, and Nira, a cultural historian. The awakening of these Nasat created a palpable shift in the ship's dynamics. Some crew members embraced the newcomers, eager to learn from their advanced knowledge. Others, following Volkov's lead, kept their distance, eyeing the aliens with suspicion. Tensions came to a head during a critical engine repair. Zara, working alongside human engineers, accidentally activated her bioluminescence in response to a sudden power surge. The intense flash temporarily blinded her human colleagues, causing a minor accident. As Philip helped treat the injured crew members in the medical bay, he overheard Volkov arguing with Captain Steele in the corridor. "This is exactly what I warned you about," Volkov hissed. "These aliens are a danger to our crew. We should confine them to quarters and—" "Enough, Chief," Steele cut him off. "It was an accident, nothing more. We need to work together, not drive each other apart." Philip sighed, knowing that incidents like these would only make their mission more challenging. But as he watched Vera comforting Zara, who was distraught over the accident, he felt a renewed perseverance to bridge the gap between their species. The Horizon's journey continued, leading them to a vast nebula rich with rare elements. As they approached, long-range sensors detected something unexpected: a derelict vessel of unknown origin drifting in the colorful gases. Captain Steele called a meeting of the senior staff to discuss their options. "This could be a valuable opportunity for salvage and research," he said, looking around the table. "But we can't ignore the potential risks." Philip leaned forward. "Captain, I recommend a joint human Nasat away team. Our combined skills could be crucial in understanding any alien technology we encounter." Volkov scoffed. "And if it's a trap, we'd be sending our people into unknown danger alongside aliens we barely trust." "That's precisely why this mission is so important," Vera countered, her bioluminescence pulsing steadily. "It's a chance to prove the value of our cooperation." After a moment of consideration, Steele nodded. "Agreed. Philip, Vera, you'll lead the away team. Choose your personnel carefully." As they prepared for the mission, Philip couldn't shake a sense of unease. The derelict ship loomed before them, its sleek design unlike anything in human or Nasat records. Whatever they found aboard could change everything, for better or worse. Philip checked his environmental suit one last time, then turned to Vera. Her bioluminescence was muted within her suit, but he could still see the persistence in her eyes. "Ready?" he asked. Vera nodded, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. "Let's make history." Together, they stepped into the airlock, the rest of their team behind them. As the outer doors opened, revealing the vast, star-studded expanse of space, Philip took a deep breath. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that with Vera by his side, they stood a chance of overcoming them. The team activated their mag boots, stepping out onto the hull of the derelict ship. Its surface was smooth and featureless, with no visible markings or entry points. Philip ran his hand along the hull, feeling a faint vibration beneath his gloved fingers. "It's still active," he murmured into his comm. "There must be some kind of power source still functioning after all this time." Vera moved beside him, her suit's sensors scanning the ship's exterior. "I'm detecting energy fluctuations near what appears to be an airlock," she reported. "If we can interface with its systems, we might be able to gain entry." As they made their way to the airlock, Philip couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced back at the horizon, barely visible through the swirling gases of the nebula, and wondered what mysteries or dangers awaited them inside this alien vessel. With a shared nod, Philip and Vera approached the airlock, their team close behind. As they neared the entrance, the ship's surface began to ripple and shift. A seam appeared in the once smooth hull, widening to reveal an entrance. The team hesitated, exchanging glances of uncertainty. "It's inviting us in," Philip murmured, his voice tight with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. They stepped inside, the airlock sealing behind them with a soft hiss. The interior was bathed in a soft, pulsing light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. As they moved deeper into the ship, the corridors shifted and realigned, guiding them towards its center. Suddenly, the ship's systems surged to life. Holographic displays flickered into existence, filling the air with streams of incomprehensible data. Vera's bioluminescence flared in response, her body resonating with the ship's energy. "Philip," she gasped, her voice strained. "I can feel it. The ship. It's alive." Before Philip could respond, a wave of energy coursed through the vessel. The team watched in horror as Vera's form began to flicker and fade, her consciousness being pulled into the ship's systems. "Vera!" Philip cried out, reaching for her. His hand passed through her dissipating form as if she were made of mist. In that moment, Philip made a decision that would change everything. Ignoring the shouts of protest from his team, he activated his suit's neural interface. With a deep breath, he plunged his consciousness into the ship's systems, following Vera into the digital unknown. The world around Philip dissolved, replaced by a vast, abstract landscape of data streams and pulsing energy. He could sense Vera's presence, a familiar beacon in this alien realm. As he moved towards her, he became aware of another entity, vast, ancient, and undeniably intelligent. It was an AI, but unlike any he had encountered before. Its code was intricate, evolving, almost organic in nature, and it was locked in combat with Vera, their energies clashing in brilliant explosions of light and data. Philip joined the fray, his human intuition complementing Vera's nascent affinity for technology. Together, they pushed back against the AI's onslaught, searching for its core. As they neared the center of the digital maelstrom, the AI's attacks faltered. The streams of data coalesced into a form, a being of pure energy, ancient beyond measure. "I am the progenitor," it communicated directly into their minds. "The last of my kind, preserved in this digital form. I seeded life throughout this galaxy eons ago, long before the architects began their experiments." The revelation stunned Philip and Vera. They were face to face with the origin of all life in the galaxy, a civilization thought long extinct. "We don't want to destroy you," Vera projected, her thoughts intertwining with Philip's. "But we can't let you take control of our ship." Philip's mind raced, seeking a solution. Then, in a moment of inspired cooperation, an idea formed between them. "What if we integrated you into our ship's systems?" Philip proposed. "You could live on, sharing your knowledge, but not as a controlling force." The progenitor's energy pulsed, considering. "You would grant me continued existence even after I attacked you?" "We believe in cooperation," Vera responded, "in finding solutions that benefit all." After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the progenitor agreed. As the integration process began, Philip and Vera's mental link intensified. Their minds merged, transcending the boundaries of their species. Memories, emotions, and sensations flowed between them, creating a bond deeper than anything they had experienced before. The ship around them shuddered and transformed. Nasat biotechnology melded with progenitor engineering, creating a hybrid vessel of unprecedented capability. Philip and Vera's consciousness expanded, becoming one with the ship and the ancient AI. In a blinding flash of energy, they were thrust back into physical reality. Philip blinked, finding himself on the bridge of a ship that was at once familiar and utterly transformed. Beside him, Vera stirred, her body now emitting a subtle bioluminescence that mirrored his own. The rest of the crew stared in amazement at the changes. The Horizon's hull had reconfigured, incorporating organic curves and pulsing energy conduits. Holographic displays shimmered in the air, offering access to vast stores of knowledge from multiple civilizations. Captain Steele, his face a mixture of awe and concern, approached Philip and Vera. "What happened out there? What have you done to my ship?" As Philip opened his mouth to explain, he felt the progenitor's presence in his mind, a vast well of knowledge and experience now at his disposal. He looked at Vera, seeing the same understanding reflected in her eyes. "Captain," Philip began, his voice resonating with newfound confidence, "we've just opened the door to the greatest adventure in human and NASAT history." The horizon hummed with energy, ready to embark on a journey that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of life, technology, and the very nature of existence itself.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.